Is this your first time in Prague? Is there anything...
Speak up, please. You're too voice.
Yes? Is this your first time in Prague? Is there anything you want to see or taste? And what are your first impressions of the city? Thank you.
You're welcome. I just wanted to make sure I saw you. It is indeed my first time in Prague. The second part of that question is always a humorous one for me on my first day, because what I've seen in Prague is an airport, a car, and my pillow. Because it was a long flight. I came from New York through Heathrow to here. So I'm looking forward, very interesting that tomorrow I have a day off here. So that will be my day to really be able to experience Prague. And I know I will love Prague because every person in the US that I told I was coming here just did their whole, oh my God, you're going to Prague. Oh yeah, you know. And so I have a list of places that I'm supposed to go to see. So I'm looking forward to a great experience here in Prague. Thank you.
And what is going to be the first place you go?
Oddly enough, on the drive here, we went by, of course, the Moldau. My manager here said, unbeknownst to me, that her favorite piece of classical music is indeed mine, Smetana's The Moldau. So I'm going to spend a lot of time tomorrow on the river.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Who's next? Or is that it? Oh, okay.
I'm from Actuality, Slovakia. I have a question on your roles that you play on Step by Step.
Oh, and Step by Step, yes.
So as Frank Lambert, you have been this perfect father to the family. So how is this in your family? Are you such a perfect father and such a perfect family that you have on your own?
Well, asking me, I'm the perfect father. If you ask my children, I'm not sure they would give you the same answer. But I think they would. Perfect father doesn't mean a perfect person. Perfect father is a changing job. Every time something happens, you have to adjust to the situation. So I think I've been somewhat perfect in many circumstances, and like a normal human being, maybe not perfect in others. But I have two wonderful children who are not children now. My son is turning 50, and my other son is turning 46. I have 4 grandchildren from 18 to 12, and they are all honorable, hardworking, compassionate human beings. So when I look at them, I must admit to taking some credit on how they turned out. The other credit belongs, of course, to my wife of 46 years, who was, I would say, more responsible for the raising of them because I was working so much. But nevertheless, I think that I have been a fairly good father, if not perfect.
And in Step by Step, I mean, it was in the 90s, so the world looked different. So what would you think how the Step by Step would look today, like the family and the whole show?
Well, it's interesting. I don't think the circumstances of family life change. I think the environment in which the family lives changes. But I think a blended family, which we were, 3 children from one family, 3 children from another family, putting them together. I think that's a formula that's consistent throughout history. You know, there are conflicting personalities, and hopefully, if it's a loving family, there's a resolution that creates value, and then the family goes on. On Step by Step, you know, the formula for a situation comedy is happy family, something happens, family's not happy, something happens, family's happy. And that all takes place in a half hour. So in real life, it may take several days, weeks, months, years, but I think the resolution is always going to be, more often than not, successful.
Final question, what do people recognize you more, as Frank Lambert from Step by Step or as Bobby Ewing from Dallas? And aren't you sorry that you had these iconic roles, but you didn't have like a big iconic movie role?
Oh, interesting. Well, that's a lot of questions all in one thing. I think more people recognize me from Dallas because drama is more accessible worldwide than comedy. Comedy tends to be site-specific. Good comedies don't always translate in different countries where they're at. Whereas a drama where you are many times translated into the language of the country, tends to be more homogeneous and accessible. So more people see me as Bobby than see me as Frank Lambert. Now, to the question of film versus television, yes, I'm not known for film work at all, to be quite honest. I think I've done 2 films of no particular interest over my career, but I've done, my goodness, now 355, almost 600 episodes of television. So I've satiated the market with my face. And I find that film relies on scarcity a lot. Most people will do a film, even very successful actors, if they do 2 films a year, that's a good career. Especially nowadays with films being so large that they do take that amount of time. So people are anticipating what the next film will be for their favorite film star. You only have to wait till Tuesday, to find out what I'm doing next. So there's not really a market for me to do feature films and have people anticipate, oh, what's it going to be? But it never bothered me in the sense of, I find the satisfaction of work, no matter what it is, any work, in or out of film business. I'm a carpenter by trade. That's what I grew up being. I'm a carpenter. I get as much pleasure and joy out of a day's work as a carpenter that I do as a television actor. And as a matter of fact, I still do carpentry work around the house. If something needs rebuilt, I do that because it fills me with satisfaction. So film work, if it comes, absolutely, I'm ready. Whenever the phone rings, I say yes, and then I ask who it is. So if it's a film job, I would take it, but I'm not wringing my hands, wondering when the next one will come.
Thank you very much and welcome.
So when you look back to your career, what did you enjoy the most? Can you pick up something, what it was the most enjoyable for you, what you've done?
The answer to that is twofold for me. In retrospect, looking back, I find that I've had incredible good luck and great fortune. And the shows that I've done have lasted so long. If you think about it, I've only had 3 jobs in 50 years. For an actor, that's a pretty good average because I've been steadily employed for 50 years. So, Dallas is 16 years. Step by Step was 7 years. Man from Atlantis was 2 years. The Bold and the Beautiful was 5 years. So it's just consistency to me is important.
What
Now,
did you like the most?
yeah, what I like the most, interestingly enough, I've had career-changing revelations doing theater as opposed to film work. 2 instances. One was an instance in 2000. I was in the UK in London doing a play on the West End. I had a director that changed and I had been working since 1976. So I've been working a long time, and I had a director in 2000 that changed my attitude towards my profession. Fundamentally changed my attitude. To me, that was remarkable at that stage of my life when I thought I knew everything, right? To have someone give me inspiration that struck me so deeply. So that's one. And the second one was another theater experience that I just had, again in England, but that's where I do most of my theater, was a play that I just finished last year, October, November, December. And that was fundamental to me because it was 12 people on stage for the entire play, and it's hard to explain how satisfying it is to only feel support, to only feel that every person in your tribe, in your family, on your stage, is only there to make you feel better. And we all had that towards each other, so it wasn't just one person. Every single person was looking out for the well-being of everybody else. That's very rare. You know, in film business, I've only worked with wonderful people, but wonderful people from all conditions of life. But this last stage experience to me was unique in that sense. So those two, at the end of my life and career so far, I will remember those two instances. I will, of course, be grateful for Bobby Ewing. I will be grateful for Frank Lambert. I'll be grateful for whatever I might do in the future. I'm grateful to be here. You know, somebody called up and asked if I would like to come to Prague. I mean, who gets phone calls like that? It's amazing that, you know, and they said, we'll fly you there. We'll actually put you on the plane. You don't have to do it yourself. So this life is the most incredible life in the world, and I'm completely, you know, appreciative of every single aspect of it. So what is more fundamental is a hard question for me. Okay? Okay, you again. You gotta be quicker.
Is there any hope we see more viewing family stories on TV, and would you like to participate?
If there were a reconstruction of the Ewing family in some form or another, I would say yes, depending on the quality of the project itself. We did the one reboot, of course. It is a very, first of all, fewer and fewer original cast members exist. That's the hard part. And I would only do it with original cast members. And other ones as well, but it would have to be, right now it would have to be Linda Gray, who's now my closest, dearest friend. You know, Hagman and I were best friends for 46 years, you know. And so both Linda and Larry and I, they referred to us as the Three Musketeers. In that we would only do things if the other two agreed. So nobody could pull a fast one on us. Nobody could say, you know, oh, I know Linda wants to do this, so will you do it? I'll just call Linda up, go, Linda, do they think she, I didn't talk to her. Okay, there you go. Same with Larry. So that made it easy to make decisions about doing anything Dallas. Now with Larry gone, and it'd be Linda and myself, that's the decision. If Linda and I decide to do it together, then we would do it. It's a very, Dallas is owned by a lot of people. Many, many people now own Dallas, production companies, studios, Warner Brothers, Sony, Lorimar, you know, TNT, they all own a piece of it. So the lawyer smart enough to write a contract that would satisfy all those people is the best lawyer in the world. So if that could happen, then if the script is right, yes, I would do it again, of course.
Great.
Okay. Now it's your turn, no matter who raises their hand.
Thank you. Back to Man from Atlantis.
With a pig. Okay,
Yes.
Man from Atlantis.
Yeah, could you share some memories of that series? And you played kind of a superhero back in the days.
Back in the
And you were not a superhero, but Marvel comic books were out there.
Right.
And after so many years, comic books are a thing in Hollywood. So how do you feel about being a superhero back then and now seeing superheroes so popular?
Right. Well, the first part of the question is just, Man from Atlantis was my first job, basically, in television. And I was a carpenter at the time. I was rebuilding a boat and doing auditions at the same time. And when I got the Man from Atlantis, I stopped the boat and began my career. That show could only be done by a young person. You know, I was 26, I think. Yeah, 25, I think, when I started that show. It was physically extremely difficult to do because it was before all the special effects that we have now. You know, if they said you jump off the building into the cold water, you have to jump off the damn building into the cold water. And you can't just go in front of a blue screen and then all of a sudden they've been, because nowadays people will see that show and they'll say, how did they make your hair move like you were underwater? I said, well, they put me underwater, and that's just how they did it. So it was extremely difficult physically to do, but great. When I was that young, it was I was a comic book hero. You know, it was fantastic. And they did make it was DC Comics, I think, made Man from Atlantis comics.
It's
They did-
Marvel.
Was it?
Marvel.
Was it Marvel
Yeah.
did the ones? Hey, you're better than I. But they did 6, I think, episodes, 6 comics of it, which for me, that was fantastic also. It's like, and they also, a toy company was gonna make a toy. But then the show was canceled before they made the toy. So all those things were wonderful. Now, when the show was canceled, I immediately started on Dallas, so I just left that behind. But Atlantis was always in my mind, that the TV show did not do what I thought the story of The Man from Atlantis should have been. So I wrote a book. I wrote a book called The Man from Atlantis, The Return. And it's way more science fiction than the sort of Batman version of Man from Atlantis that the show became. And at one point I took that book to Warner Brothers. This was at the very beginning of a lot of the Marvel stuff they were doing. And I took it to them and to pitch the idea. Why not do it? Because I was too old to play the part. It wasn't like I wanted to be in it, but I thought it should be done. And it was the same time they were developing Aquaman, which became huge, but it was. They said, we can't do 2 at once, so that hit the back burner. Because all the things that I wrote could be done so easily with modern technology. When we did Man from Atlantis, there was no green screen. We literally had to do it all. So nowadays you can do anything you want. The imagination is the only, parameters you have to deal with. So I would like to have had it done, but again, it's like, do I regret not doing film? No. Do I regret not having it done? No. It would have been nice, But I've got my little book, by myself. Sold maybe 12 copies. Doesn't matter. Got my little book. So everything happens according to time. And if you have the right attitude, I think you can create value out of every circumstance in your life. And that's one of them for me.
Thank you.
I'm very sorry, I have to interrupt you because we did run out of time.
I'm not done talking yet.
I'm sorry, so if you have some last sentence you want to say.
No, did you have a quick one that can be like a yes or no question? You were raising your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted
Only
to,
yes or no?
Oh.
because on yes or no, just the humor, how it changed between Step by Step and the sitcoms that are aired today, how do you view it?
Oh, I think, there's intellectual humor and then there's physical humor, but they both require good writing. So, I was 50 when I started Step by Step, and I could still do the physical comedy. Now I need good writing to do the intellectual comedy.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.